What are some mistakes you've seen other agents make that have hindered them in becoming a great agent? New agents or agents in their first year, first months. You're hearing it from someone who's now making millions of dollars in commission in sales per year, at the top of his game. And for the first 2 years, it was an absolute struggle.
Everyone works like crazy to get a listing. And then they get that listing and then all their attention goes to focusing on getting it sold. Obviously we sell properties, that's what we get paid to do. But I got taught by an old mentor of mine years ago, we're in the listing business. If you've got the listings, the sales will come.
No agent who is doing millions of dollars is an overnight success, okay? None of them. What he said, it's nothing special. But the special thing is, agents, welcome to the Get Keen podcast, your number one destination for learning how to get the most out of your real estate career. I'm Dan Lee, founder of Plum Property, one of Queensland's largest independent real estate offices, and Plum Partners, where we've helped dozens of agents create, run and grow their very own agencies. On Get Keen, I chat to high-performing agents, principals, and agency owners, so you have the tools, strategies, and insights to grow your business and live the best life for yourself and your family. Now let's get keen. Oh my goodness. Welcome back to Get Keen, you wonderful people. You're here because you want to learn something. And I have a very, very special guest to have the privilege of Aaron Woolard from Place Estate Agents, one of the great brands and names in real estate, particularly in Brisbane. They're a big organization and they have some very talented agents. And we are talking with someone who has been number one in their organization a number of times, a team of 6, over 160 deals last year in the last 12 months. I've estimated your commission, Aaron, to be somewhere over 3 million. I'm not going to embarrass you and make you say it. And I know you don't do it all yourself because it's a team of 6 and we'll get into that, but over $3 million in commission. And he started out just like all of us, all by our lonely selves. And we're going to find out a little bit about his journey and how to become a top performer in a very large organization. Aaron, thank you so much for your time. I saw you come in today. You're on the phone. You're closing a deal. You've got buyers asking you questions. You're off the phone. We're in here. We're on camera now. And here we are. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
No worries. Mate, I always like to get a bit of the start of the journey. I love all people who hear this because we all look at high performers like yourself. And it's not just because you're a handsome chap, all right? You know, we all start from somewhere. Tell the audience, how long have you been in real estate, firstly?
I started in 2012.
I'm great at maths. That's 12 years.
Yes,
all right.
Yep.
So 12 years. All right. So this is the length of time. And tell us about the first couple of years. Were you on Struggle Street? When did you start making money?
When I started, like very old school real estate, different company, I started in a smaller organization and it was very much a case of here's a desk, here's a list of buildings, good luck. And I think back then it was a very much of sink or swim mentality and they probably nearly had more people failing than succeeding. So it was really tough. Like I hated it. Like I really struggled. I think the first 4 months I didn't list anything. I was debit credit. They thought that maybe I wasn't hungry enough. So then they said, we're going to get rid of that. You're comm only now to see if they could get some inspiration in me or fire me up. Nothing, didn't sell anything.
Were you trying?
Trying, but probably not taking it serious.
Okay.
Like I think I listened to your podcast yesterday and it's probably that flip from it's a job to a business. So it was, I was turning up, I was doing the 9 to 5, I was doing the bare minimum, but expecting result.
And so when did things start to turn around? How long did it take you to get your first listing?
Yeah, so I think it was probably 4 months. Okay. Open listing, no photos, like take them on your iPhone, free advertising like on REA. So it was like terrible. I don't even think we sold it.
Yeah.
So it took a while. We got a little bit of momentum. We had obviously the floods. The market had just recovered. It was tough. So probably 2 years in, I was about to give up. I had enough. I thought I had friends that were working a 9 to 5, earning more money than me. I think I made like 30 grand in the first year. So I went, nah, I'm done. And a friend of mine who's no longer with us, he was my manager at the time, and he said, look, I'm thinking of moving. I'm going to join Place, maybe go and talk to Paul Curtin. So I met with Place. I walked in with open arms and went, take me, just give me a job. And I think once I joined the company, like at that stage, Judy Goodger was our director. I was working in the office with like a lot of big hitters. So that momentum just meant I had to get on the bus.
Yeah, I guess. And you surrounded yourself with the right people because perhaps you were really trying, but the lack of direction, the lack of proper instructions on what sort of activities you should be doing and how to say it, and learning from those people, so important.
Yeah.
So guys, listen up. New agents or agents in their first year, first months, you're hearing it from someone who's now making millions of dollars in commission in sales per year, at the top of his game. And for the first 2 years, it was an absolute struggle, right? This is not an uncommon story. You have to know that it's going to take persistence, it's going to take hard work, and you're going to have to overcome some serious barriers to make it work. So when did you start making money? About 2 years later?
It was probably, it started to roll a little bit, and then just sort of that momentum builds. And I think once you get a little bit of a roll, then that success breeds success and listings breed more listings. So it was probably a couple of years. Mm-hmm. If you look at my career, it's hasn't been drastic, hasn't been overnight. Like I was a slow and steady, but it constantly building and evolving and changing and adapting.
Right. Yeah. And just consistency over a long period of time, building every year, getting slightly better every year.
Yeah.
You got a continuous growth. No agent who is doing millions of dollars is an overnight success. Okay. None of them. What do you think, now being where you are, top of your game, what is the first skill you think every agent needs to master to stand out?
I firmly believe having a core area. I think getting an area that you want to, I guess, you identify with, you like, even if it's a product. Like I work with an agent who does a lot of architectural homes, so that's what they love and enjoy. So I think identifying what you love and you're passionate about. So I picked an area and then just started to know that area, grow in that area, know everything about it so that you could be an expert. I think that's the number one thing.
I 100% agree with you on that. And I say it all the time that it is so much easier and faster to become successful if you work in one patch.
Absolutely.
Because if you become the master of a patch, you become an attraction agent in that patch. And then everyone in that area wants to sell with you because you sell more than everyone else. It's easier because your open homes are all, and your inspections and your properties are all closer to each other. You know the area better. You have the proof of sales. It just makes everything easier, and it makes listing the properties easier. So very well said, guys. Get a core area. A big mistake agents make is they say they're going to be the master of an area, but then they get a listing in another area, and then they start spending weeks prospecting that area, and then they get a listing in a totally different area again, and they spend weeks prospecting in that area, and they never become the master of the area that they set out to achieve being the master of. Focus all your attention on your area. So what about your habits? You must have some pretty good habits. What are the habits that consistently bring good results for you?
I think over time it's probably evolved. I think that I've realized that I'm probably a bit of a person of routine. So I am pretty routined. I think the other advantage maybe for me is that because I do work locally and our office is local, I'm in the office a lot more. I find I get more work done in the office. So I think that it's just probably consistency in my routine. And then I'm also pretty focused on goals. So we're very systemized in terms of tracking our numbers and knowing where we're at and those sorts of things.
Okay, so like, because you got a team of 6, which is big. We'll talk about that. But you have goals for the whole team?
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you have individual goals for each person?
Yes, yeah.
Okay. How does that work? So how many associates do you have, and what sort of numbers are they hitting for you?
So again, it's progressing over time. I've started as myself, and then I brought on a sales associate, and then now I've got a team of 4 that work with me. But I think that what we do is annually we sit down, or every financial year, we sit down and we work out, well, what is our goal? What do we want to achieve as a team? And more recently, as the guys have grown and have become more successful in their own right, we've identified, well, what do you want to achieve? So, and then we break those numbers down and go, okay, well, you want to do this many sales, you want to write this much commission, this is your turnover, this is your conversion, and these are the numbers.
That's really interesting, because I was wondering, how do you keep a team of 4 motivated and not wanting to just jump ship and go work for themselves or go work for another agent? What are some top strategies that agents can use to keep their team solid, loyal, and on track together?
Look, I am very lucky. Like, I've got an amazing team. Like, they're probably my friends. Like, we get along, we see each other outside of work. So I think it's probably having a common interest. I think we all firmly believe that as a team we can conquer more. So we've got a team mentality. And if we all win, we all win. Like, it's not individual. So I think that's the first thing. We're all in it together. But they're all incredibly hungry and driven in their own right. So I think that's the main thing, having the right people in the right seats on the bus. But also too, I think that it's a little bit like lead from the top. Like, I'm very much driven and probably hungrier than I've ever been. But I think that comes from the top. Like, if we're all running, everyone's running. So it makes it a lot easier.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, great leaders, they lead by example. And really, if you're going to be a top agent and have other people working on your team, you need to be working harder than all of them.
Yeah,
you need to show up every day and show them how it's done,
Yeah.
right? And that obviously comes through with your work ethic. So what about your market knowledge? Do you think that's really important for an agent?
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. I think that particularly from the listing presentation, having that inside knowledge and obviously having sales that may not have gone on market or off market, having that information is definitely important. But also with the buyers, like when you're negotiating or something, having that data or that information to be able to relay to a buyer, I guess, helps cut through a lot of the BS.
How do you understand your market when you're doing so much and you've got your own listings and sales, right? So you know your listings and sales, but how do you get the time to know all the other properties on the market and what the differences are and things like that?
I think it's just being on all the time. Like, so when I'm at home, I'm scrolling realestate.com, I'm seeing what's new coming on. But again, the team is very good. Like, oh shit, did you see that? Oh, have you seen that? Have you seen that one sold? So we're all collaborating on information. Like, we all sit next to each other. So it's a lot easier to bounce ideas. But I'm also very on, like I'm on to it all the time.
Yeah. But and also you just focus on your area mainly.
Yeah.
So you don't need to know 15 different suburb markets. It's like, just know your market,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Do you go to other open homes and things like that?
Probably not. More so out of curiosity of something that excites me that I might see or something like that. But, you know, again, typically we're working for our clients. So that Saturday's pretty full. But if there's something that gets my attention that I want to see or I think I need to know or an auction that I need to go to get some information, then yeah.
Hey guys, just quickly, if you're loving this content and you're a real estate agent that's already thinking what it might be like to have your own real estate business and brand, then check out the show notes. There'll be a link to our Plum Partners website where you can leave an inquiry and me or one of my team members will reach out. We help agents to create, run and grow their own real estate business and brand so they can earn more and set up a better future for themselves. So get keen, get in touch. Now let's get back to the episode. You must have seen over the years, because you've been in a couple of offices and being in an office of your size, what are some mistakes you've seen other agents make that have hindered them in becoming a great agent?
I think we probably talked about it a little bit. It's that case of start here, do a bit of work over there, start here, do a bit of work over there, and they're really diluting their brand or their presence in one area. I also think the big thing is that everyone works like crazy to get a listing, and then they get that listing, and then all their attention goes to focusing on getting it sold. Obviously, we sell properties. That's what we get paid to do. But I got taught by an old mentor of mine years ago, we're in the listing business. If you've got the listings, the sales will come.
Absolutely. And that is so dead right. You only need to spend a certain amount of time on a listing per week. It could be 15 minutes a day, really, when you add it all up, plus the open home. Any time outside of that, if you're spending more than that, it better be because you're about to sell it.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
And a lot of agents, they just, they pick up the phone and they run out to take any buyer that inquires through the property. They waste an hour and a half. They could have just sent that person to the open home. They didn't even qualify them properly. and they're just looking up everything that they can about this and they just get ingrained in it. And then they basically, I think personally, they're finding excuses to not prospect more.
Yeah.
They've got this thing that they can do and they don't like doing the other stuff.
Yeah.
And they want to make themselves feel like they're working by working too much on a property.
Yeah, I think that's true. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So what's your number one form of prospecting then?
Probably phone calls.
Okay.
Yeah. It's just market information.
My style of phone calls back then for prospecting, I did a lot of like the just listed, just sold calls. Do you do those?
Yeah, absolutely.
And your team punches them out. Are they consistent with it?
Yeah, we're consistent with it. We'll do it on every listing.
Every listing?
Yeah.
How many will you do?
It depends on the property, the patch in which there's similar, but it's more just keeping people up to date. Like obviously the amount of years that I've been doing it, like there's friends and families and people that I've known over the years. So just keeping them abreast of what's happening.
Roughly how many would you make per, your team? Doesn't need to be you, but how many?
I'm still doing a lot of them.
Okay.
So very hands-on. But I would say we've got 5 properties launching this week. We'll probably do maybe 100 to 150 per property.
Per property.
Yeah.
Okay, you've just sold a property, right? You typically sell houses?
Houses and apartments.
An apartment.
Yeah.
Okay, you've just sold a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom apartment, right? You're going to call the building.
Yep.
You get all the numbers. You've got all the data you can get for that building. What are you going to call up and say?
Hey, we're just letting you know we've just sold number 3 in the building. We had this many people through. We got this price. How's things going with yours? Is there anything I can help with?
That simple.
That's it.
And how many appraisals would you generate out of doing that?
Look, New Farm is pretty tightly held, so the turnover is not huge. But often, like if it's a really good price and we've just come out of an amazing market, so often people are curious of how that price has affected the value of theirs. So yeah, often like may not be a formal face-to-face, but even, hey, here's some sales, here's some information. Yeah, you'd probably...
Then they're on the database, they're on the pipeline. Now they're going to get the regular email from you. They're going to get possibly...
They'll then be in our, I guess, sphere of influence of information.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. How often making those calls, if you're doing 100, so let's say there's 500 calls being made per week, just listed, simple call, hey, I've got this information, this just sold, we had this many buyers through, the sale price was this, really great result, how's it going with your property? How often would you get an opportunity that turns into a listing doing that?
Oh, I'd say you're probably maybe 50% chance.
50% chance of getting one per week of 500 calls?
No. I think that you're probably going to see at least from 500 calls, you'd see probably 10 to 15.
10 to 15 possible opportunities.
Yeah.
But those opportunities could span from 1 day to 1 year?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like we just listed a property the other day. I've been talking to her for 12 years.
That's right.
Yeah.
And that's what everyone needs to understand
yeah.
is that these calls, right, these just listed, just sold calls, it's not to get a sale tomorrow or a listing tomorrow. Everyone's at a certain stage of the journey and our job is just to be there so that when they decide I need an agent, they're going to call you, okay? So these calls are just to start a conversation, to get them some information if possible, but just possibly even to further the tiny little relationship that you've got with them. All right. And you may talk to them 3 or 4 more times over 4, 5, 6, 7 months before they then eventually list their property. But all these just listed, just sold calls are considered cold prospecting and they're the start of getting the listing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And in the beginning, you've got to do it yourself. And then you get listings, you build your team. Then you've got 2, 3, 4 other people now making these calls for the team, which is how you're able to list 160 properties in a year because no one can do that on their own.
Yeah.
So making 500 calls a week, like it's literally just scaling what you are as an agent. And that's what Aaron has done, and he's a master of it. And that's why he's here today. That's why he's number 1 in the place group. What other system of prospecting outside of the just listed, just sold calls? What typically does your database of people get per year? Because, we all hear that 9 points of contact a year or whatever the number is. Make it 10, 15, whatever you want. But what's your system look like?
So I guess that the biggest thing is we're we're not doing anything amazing. Like we're not doing anything out of the ordinary, out of the box, crazy different. We just work harder than anyone else, in my opinion.
I love that.
So it's the age-old stuff. Just listed, just sold, updating you on where things are at, if there's a sale that's happened around you of importance. But then they would get the newsletters, the quarterly updates, the just listed, just sold DLs. So then they're getting maybe a market report. So it's the typical stuff, but it's consistent all the time.
I love that. You know what he said? He said, it's nothing special. But the special thing is that he does it all the time. Real estate is not about doing anything amazing that other agents aren't doing. It's doing the same mundane shit over and over again that you don't want to do. But it's having that consistent presence so that people just know who you are and they know that you're good at what you do, and then they're just attracted to getting in touch with you and working with you, and you do it so well. This is absolute gold. I'd like to go back a little bit further because there's so many agents that listen to this podcast that are in their sort of mid-journey. They've started getting some traction like you did after a couple of years. What was the mind shift that really turned it into, or some changes that you made just to go from 20 deals to 60 deals?
I think that, like you said on one of your podcasts the other day, the biggest mind shift was going from this is a job, like it is actually a business. So the mentality around, well, this is my business, I'm going to make the money, so it's up to me. So if you want to be successful, it's on you. I think that's the big thing, the mental mind shift of, hey, this is a business. And then probably the biggest thing is once you've got a bit of momentum, then scaling that. So bringing on somebody to help you do everything.
Yeah.
And I think in the earlier days, I think a good structure is once you get busy, you bring on an administrator to help you with all the paperwork. You get a bit busier, then you bring on someone to help you with the buyer work and some of the stuff that you don't have to be at all the time. But I'm still handling, I don't take on every listing anymore, but the listings I take on, I'm 100% on. So I do all the vendor management, all the calls, all the open homes, all the buyer appointments. So I think you've got to decide what you want to do and how you want to scale your business. But I think building a team around you will help you do more.
How do you overcome that challenge when a seller, they want Aaron Woolard because they see Aaron Woolard everywhere and they like you, and then you go to the listing to talk to them about selling and it's possibly a bit of a cheaper one and you're sort of working more with the higher priced properties? It's just natural that that's what you do. How do you overcome them not getting all of you?
Look, at the end of the day, if I'm going to the appointment and they've called me, like I'm not selective on price. I'm probably easy. I say yes a lot. So I'm not selective in terms of value, but if it's a past client of mine or a friend of mine or something like that, and I say I'm going to do it, I will do it. And it's, I guess if I go to an appointment and I am busy, then I'll be honest with them and go, hey, we're going to do it together. Or you've just got to be honest with the clients. There's no point like saying, yeah, you're going to get me, and then next day they get somebody else.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
But that's a real challenge. And, when you get really busy, like if you've got 10 new listings on in 1 week, which can happen, or a couple of weeks, and then you just get another one, you're like, I literally can't handle this, but they want you. What do you say?
So we would have a bit of a timeline and then dependent on their objective, like they may not need to be online tomorrow. They might be doing some work, or they might need a couple of weeks to get photos done. So it's about having a strategy and a calendar and an honest conversation. What's your timeline look like? What's your objective here? So we can work through that at the appointment to say, well, it's going to take you a couple of weeks. Well, I'll be fine then. So understanding their situation is probably the key first, and then being honest with them to try to work in with that timeline.
Awesome. Okay, one last question. Look at Aaron Woolard, brand new now, 12 years ago in real estate. What are 3 things you would tell him to focus on and get really good at?
Don't do it.
All right, we'll finish there. Best advice of the day.
I feel like when I started, it seemed so complicated. Like you'd go to all these training and you'd think you got to do all these different things. Like just keep it really simple. Like stick to something that you like and you're good at. Pick an area. Stick to a few systems, put a few things in place, automate it, date it, have it so it's regular, and then start to build a team around you. I think they're the big things. And work hard. Like that's the key. There's no secret to anything that anyone's doing. They're just working harder.
How hard should you work in the beginning? Like when you don't have
I think you nearly got to, well, I probably work more now. Like you've just got to work. You've just got to continue work. Like I used to do Sunday open homes and late night appointments, but then I went to an appointment last night at 7:30. So you've just got to keep running.
What would you say to those people in their first 3 months and they've really been trying to, get the appraisals and build the database and they haven't got the listing yet and they're feeling like this is just never going to happen?
I have a bit of a different mentality and it all comes down to the person. But I think that if I had the advantage of say, some of the guys that work with me now, I think the ability to join a really successful team, I think there's lots of people within teams that are earning probably more money than agents out on their own. Depends on you as a person, but I feel join a really great team, learn from them, get some runs on the board, get some listings under your name on realestate.com. And if you want to grow and you want to go out on your own, get that behind you, but you might really enjoy it. Because real estate can be pretty lonely on your own. So, having a team of friends around you can be pretty exciting.
That's an awesome piece of advice. So if you're an agent and you're stuck in an agency and it's lonely and you're not enjoying it, but you want to continue in real estate, go look for a high-performance team that you can join because there are great agents that are always looking for the next fantastic associate. And you can earn really good money as part of a high-performance team.
Yeah.
And it can be really fun and rewarding.
Yeah.
I think that's all we've got time for. Aaron Woolard, that was so full of gold nuggets. Oh, my God. I'll be sifting through the best ones to make my reels on that one. We're going to have a lot to choose from. Thank you so much for coming in.
No worries.
To the audience. Leave a comment. Ask something for me to ask Aaron next time he's going to be on because we're going to have him back in 6 months' time because this was absolutely unreal. Your Instagram handle, what is it?
Aaron Woolard Property.
Aaron Woolard Property. That's AARON-WOOLARD. I can spell.
And property? No.
Yeah, and the property on the end. Give him a follow. He's a great agent. He's a great man. He's a good dude. I appreciate your time. Thanks for coming in.
No worries.
And getting
Thank
keen.
you. No worries at all. Thanks so much.
Thank you for tuning into the Get Keen podcast. If today's episode inspired you, please show your support with a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And make sure you subscribe on your favorite platform too. Don't stop there. Join our community of forward thinkers by connecting with me on social media at Dan_Lee_Plum. I'm looking forward to exploring more strategies and insights with you on your journey to the top. Until next time, keep getting keen.